See if that works. Facebook is just acting up, huh? Huh. Well, those of you who can hear me, I don't know what's up with Facebook, but I'm gonna do really lame Facebook. All right, let's do this. Posting timeline title is optional. Yeah. Let's copy this thing. Um, let's see. Well, Facebook is glitching, guys. Can you hear me? I don't think so. Let's see. Facebook sending data still. Okay. I'm going to kill that. So let's just go live on Facebook. Let's try it this way. Let's try this. We're gonna do this one live. We're gonna do this. We're just gonna go to Facebook. Let's do this one just live, and let's see what happens. Live on Facebook. Facebook is acting up today, and it's very strange. Ba, 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 ba. Share the groups you select. Yeah, okay. So I won't share that to a group, but let's see if. Good, Aggie. Kevin, how are you, man? I'm a little late because Facebook is broken. I'm disappointed because to do this, thanks to Facebook, I've cut out my um, I've had to cut out my heart for Facebook. No, I've had to cut out my usual. I usually stream on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And today it's going to be only. Actually, wait a minute. Let's see. Is it running? Hmm. Who knows? Anyway, fucking Facebook. What can we say, right? Ugh, they're a pain in the ass, and but it's free. I'm one of those people who really doesn't complain that much because it's free. It's let's see. See if I can restart it on on YouTube. Okay, looks like it's working on YouTube also. All right. Uh, okay, good. All right. I was not squashed by Facebook, so I learned something. Are things being touchy today, Kevin? Maybe it's just heavy traffic. But what I did just learn, I'm simultaneously streaming live right on Facebook, just direct. But I'm also still using Restream, which I prefer. And wow, this is trippy. So I'm running a Zoom meeting that's going on Restream out to Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube while I'm also on Facebook. Okay, enough of that technical nonsense. Let's ring the bell. The ting shas actually is the proper. There we go. Let's ring the ting sha and kind of just celebrate another week. We're here. We made it another week. How are you, folks? Thank you, Richie, Kevin Ritchie. I'm glad it sounds okay. I got the audio pretty dialed in. It's the rest of it I worry about. But well, how's everyone doing today? It continues to be a crazy time, as it will be for the foreseeable future. But I wanted to talk today a little bit about as every week we talk. The thing is, can I share on Facebook? How do you share the screen? Because that's part of my jam, man. Dashboard options. Okay, no. All right. Anyway, maybe I won't share the screen today, but we'll just share some the occasional link. So as usual, we talk about some veg news, some incredible stuff every week now. There's just stuff that you go, wow, that's a head scratcher. Really amazing. Oh wow. So all kinds of cool stuff happening, and lots of food. There's for instance, a ballpark in Texas now serving vegan nachos. And I mean, that's where you're going to test stuff out, right? As a ballpark, because if they sell, they sell. If they're delicious, they're delicious. There's also now an Aquafaba based egg alternative. Everyone know what Aquafaba is? It's amazing stuff. Excuse me. I ate some almonds before, and a couple of them. There we go. Not hydrating enough today. I got some caffeine and some water though. But Aquafaba, you may know, it's an ancient ingredient because it's the water when you soak chickpeas to cook them, and it's also the liquid. So it's kind of the starch. It's kind of there's a bit of fat in there. There's just some enzymatic, you know, activity that probably happens. It starts to break down a little bit. But it's the water you get when you prepare chickpeas or the water in the can because they've been sitting in that can and breaking down. It's called Aquafaba, and it's really incredible. You can do meringues, and you could do any kind of egg yolk type stuff. And this isn't about substitution, folks. It's more about food is chemistry, right? And if something will emulsify, if something has a certain acidity, if something has a certain density, a certain elasticity, like it or not, that's that's the reality around things that we eat. They are chewy or stringy or salty, or there's umami, or there's bittersweet. All the different tastes on your tongue, and then there are a finite set of textures. As we talk about every week on this show, the beautiful thing is so many creative people are now saying, well, what can I do with plant-based? And so there's that, and then there's the infinite amount of plants around planet Earth. There's stuff we still haven't even found, right? In the Amazon and deep in rainforests in Asia and whatnot. That's number one. Number two, there's things that still haven't gotten out of their regional area. Like, for instance, breadfruit. How many of you all, let's do a quick survey. Who here has eaten breadfruit? Let me go to the comments. Have you eaten breadfruit? Robert Bruce says, disembodied. Let's get a little more light then. Here you are, Robert. I've production black, bro. I've toured for 25 years and all we wear is black. Roadies, crew people, tour managers. So after a quarter century of that, my especially the last 12, 15 years, my whole wardrobe is black and basic black. So black shirt, nice black jacket that Robin got me lately. So Hey, man, like you said, Robert, it's a look. So, but the lighting is a whole other thing. So, hello, Sharon Rudolph. How are you? And Steve Hershey, bro, good to see you, man. I didn't respond to you. I was teaching right before for a while, and I saw a message came in, including that you watched our interview a couple more times. Wow, thank you, bro. That was a blast. It was really a blast. I'll post it here actually for some nerds that want to see that other side of what I talk about, which is synthesizers and equipment and 35-year-old rack mount gear that like this Insonic Mirage that's sitting right next to me. And then you know what? Do we have? Are we live? Sea Moon. So there we go. What old crappy piano sound is that? Anyway, we're here. We're live. We're in the studio. Sharon, hello. Robert Bruce, hello. Good to see you, bro. Uh, Steve says waves. It waves. Waves. I'm not understanding that. So, quick survey. Have you ever had breadfruit? Anyone that's had breadfruit, please say so in the chat because I'm just making the point that um, there's all these foods around the world, and that's one that's I've eaten since I was a child in South America, in uh, Trinidad, and in Jamaica when I've lived briefly in the latter two places. I really only lived briefly in South America, about 5 years. So, but breadfruit is incredible. And why is it called that? It's like bread. It's this green, globular kind of a thing, a fruit. Or, it's just grows on a tree. It's the fruit of a tree, and they're awesome. They look like these um, bowling balls that are green, and you just cut them open and you bake that. Let's see, it's a species of flowering tree in the mulberry and jackfruit family. Okay, how about that? Believed to be a domesticated descendant of Artocarpus camansi, originating in New Guinea, the Molucca Islands, and the Philippines. Did not know that, but it's in tropical countries. You bake this stuff. You just cut it open and bake it, and it's like bread. It's got a texture that's very just like you know like a biscuit kind of if you know southern biscuits, it's kind of that. I'm trying to look for here's a good link. CBS Sunday Morning. How about that? They did something on it. um, so I'll give you all that link. Anyway, my point being is that there's all these things that uh, haven't even reached major popularity outside of various countries and various islands, and there you go. Sharon, how are you? Yes, breadfruit. There it is. Take a there. There's the link. Um, let's see. Kevin says yes. Obliviously on stage, hidden shots. Exactly. So that's what we do, man. When we're, when I watch once in a while, watch concerts of a group that I've been on the road with. Good luck finding yourself, and that's the point. You want to be invisible, handing someone a guitar, getting, sometimes it's at the song change and there's a bit more light, but that's exactly right. So you have a dark man in a dark outfit and stealth. Gotta stop doing that okay thing, right? Because some maniacs have stolen that and made it a bad thing. So Steve, you're waving to me. Okay. Hello, my friend. Steve Hershey in the Hay House. Yeah, Sharon Rudolph, you would love it, and it's a great substitute or kind of instead of for a lot of starchy things like breads and things like that. So, all right. Also, drop your lighting a bit, so you can have Andre the Oracle. You say kill the lighting a bit. Let's see. How's that? Oh, so you prefer that? um, So let's get to a couple other things then. The other link I was going to put is this incredible Aquafaba, yet another egg alternative. Um, What's your beef with eggs? They're fine. Someone's going to say that. And, I'm fine with eggs, but in the industrial situation we're in, it's, you know, really tough to support how we raise them, how we get them. That's always the message here. Stop imagining that it's 1700s, and that's true in all consumerism, not just food. But anyway, there's these more sustainable ways to do things, um, and I love that they're blowing up. That people are looking at ways to do them. Um, yeah, aquafaba, chickpea brine is what this stuff's called. Yeah, there's all this stuff happening. They're making a butter from this. There's a Fabanaise, which is eggless mayo. I'm telling you, this stuff acts like eggs. This is the water of chickpeas. I know it's kind of like, what are you talking about? Um, there you go. I dropped it in the chat there. Um, and you're right. Also, breadfruit is gluten free. Exactly. Aquafaba good for brownies. Yeah, anything really, anything you would use eggs. Benny Rodriguez, what's up, my friend? Benny, were you there for the David Sanchez party on Friday night? Man, that was so good, bro. I know you've heard his new album, Eyes Wide Open, but I'm still on a high from that. We were listening to that album this morning, and wow, David Sanchez. That really, I talked to some cool people. I'm fortunate in this new gig that I get to interview some badass motherfuckers, but David Sanchez, that was so cool. Just, I mean, there was, what was cool is there was a little moment of time when his Tone albums, his Transformation, and all the other albums, Forest of Feelings, all those records before Tone, were kind of like the little, I want to call it a secret, but which sucks because I wish he had sold more of those. But he did okay with those, but it was kind of like people would be into Weather Report, Return to Forever, Mahavishnu, into different fusion things, and that was kind of the test. It was kind of like, but have you heard Tone? Yeah. And sometimes people would be like, who's Tone? Oh my God, check this out. And then they put two and two together because, oh, that's the guy from, okay, he played with Springsteen and he's playing with Peter Gabriel now or something, if it was the late 80s. Um, and then he went on to, most people heard of him probably even, well, between Sting and Peter Gabriel. But it was a joy to speak with him, talk about this new record, talk about what he's doing, talk about how he's coping in this America, which we got some good insights. So that was cool. Benny, I hope you were there for that. So, well, here's so today, as I labeled it, I want to talk about a couple things today. We're always talking about plant-based futurism. That's my deal. How do we move forward having plants be more central in our fabric? We should have clothing, more of it. Of course, we have some clothing made out of plants. Of course, there's cotton is a plant that we make clothes out of. But we need more hemp clothing. We need to grow more hemp so it's as dirt cheap as it has been for millennia. We need, there's so many. Bamboo makes great fabrics, and there's bamboo sneakers and clothing and coats and things like that. So more of that we can have, and so fabrics, containers. I'm big on that. Paper containers made from corn, from wheat, from biodegradable grains. Which they all are by definition. We gotta do this, folks. So clothing, packaging. I love that there's all these lines now of biodegradable picnic stuff, right? So you have people doing picnics. They're gonna have picnics. What That's the thing. You got to be real politic about these things. People are going to have picnics. They're going to have friends over, family. They're going to go to a park, and they normally are going to throw away paper plates, plastic forks, and knives and spoons. I love that there's this huge industry in corn-based stuff. I'm sure you all have seen that. For just a couple bucks more, you can get a pack of corn starch forks, knives, spoons. Yes, it's better to take some silverware and lug it back and forth and wash it. That's our first choice. But it is great knowing that in settings where it's going to be disposable, whether it's at a festival and it's a food truck or something, I do love that these alternatives have come up, and let's keep supporting them. So clothing, containers, cutlery, silverware, instead of silverware, um, and of course, food. This revolution we're seeing, restaurants, chefs, Epicurious saying they're not going to do beef reviews now. Countries like Brazil doing major, like this, like turning a battleship around. It takes a while, but countries like Brazil, where their massive animal slaughter industry is looking at vegan alternatives, looking at wheat, gluten, looking at soy and corn and other things. We can get into a discussion of, that's too much grain, all that, but it's a step, in a better direction, because at least you're going towards sustainability. Yes, you're still trucking things around. Yes, there's still packaging. Yes, of course. That's the funny thing. We're in this interesting time too, where if you critique something, but your answer isn't 10,000% solving everything, then it collapses. How about we can move forward incrementally, right? How about, we go back and forth till we get things not perfect, but a little more optimized. So these are some of the things that I'm going to touch on. Kevin says, yeah, on stage techs, yes, of course. I'm out of work. I'm an out of work on stage tech. So a couple plant-based news items going to pop up, but I want to focus on a few things. Animals and how it fits into this mess that we're in. We haven't talked about that in a while. And what I've been reading about lately is animals being what they call reservoirs, animal reservoirs, which means, holding this virus as it circles around. So dogs, we know, catch COVID, and I think there's only been just a couple fatalities that we know of. Very, very, let's say it trends to zero. But then there was also the minks, right? We talked about that a bunch on this show. All these minks that caught this, and it spread like wildfire and mutated very quickly and went back and forth to humans. This was in Norway, Netherlands, and in the lake region of USA. Wisconsin, Minnesota, they had horrible problems with having to destroy in the millions of these minks, So animal reservoirs is a story that's kind of back burner, kind of page 5, but I urge you to go read about that. Just punch in animal reservoir. I got an article here from the World Health Organization talking about how they're trying to track down animal reservoir of COVID. This article is about 6 months old, but I just read it. I just heard a guy on NPR, a doctor, talking about this problem and how this is a zoonotic disease. I don't think we're kind of keyed into that as much as we should. And y'all have heard me say this. I talk about it not every week, but over and over and over. Just how let's get this going. How crucial it is to consider that this is, however it originated, this is something that's in high density in other animals, specifically bats and they've obviously found it in these pangolins, those little creatures that look like an armadillo. So they're not sure, like, what was the vector? Did it go this direction or that direction? Whatever it is, people get caught up in this. Maybe we'll never know. But what we do know is it arrived in humans. So that's it. So I want to talk about that a little bit, and also talk about that the World Health Organization is now, not now, but for some period of time, it just gets solidified as we go. But this variant that's was identified in India is now being classified as a variant of global concern, and it spreads easier. That's the B1617, because there was the B1117. Yeah, 3 ones from, that's the English, the British one, and then there was the South African one and the Brazilian one, all of which are really of concern. But now they're saying that this one in India has increased transmissibility. So shit is real, folks. And I was talking to a friend the other day who kind of was saying, I'd rather stay positive. And I said, I'm staying positive too. Can we hold two thoughts? Can we be really positive, but not scroll past the news? This is fucking with scientists. They are scrambling here in India to besides all the other infrastructure things and the lack of oxygen and you know the really big mistakes that were made recently holding these massive religious events, right? You have Modi, their prime minister, who really made some bad choices, right? He's been a bit of a skeptic of all this, like our ex-president, like what's his name, Bolsonaro in Brazil. So you have these three irresponsible leaders, and what's funny is you take the population of India, the USA, and Brazil. Oh my God, you're talking. Well, you're starting to push. Well, solidly 25%. You're starting to push 30% of planet Earth between those three idiot leaders who push their countries into So India is headlines. This is just, I'm talking about stuff that just kind of is happening now with this new World Health Organization kind of calling attention to this possibly very concerning role of this new variant. Not new, but the one that's been circulating in India. So, pangolins are critically endangered. Yes, a lot of these animals, can't wait for the Great Pacific Garbage Patch to come alive. Yeah, I know, right? I love what Carlin said. I need some caffeine here, folks. I just taught. I'm a little burnt. Got up early. Had early students today, and student actually, just one, but doing some videos and things. I'm gonna have my favorite here. I usually just have coffee or tea, but sometimes I go with a cold Gayaki yerba mate. Love it. Not too sweet. You don't get a crazy buzz like it's, Red Bull or Rockstar or something. You get a nice, even energy from yerba mate. I love it. I got to see if I have any more tea bags. I make the tea bags. I make it myself. And I take the tea bags on tour. Here's a pro tip. I don't know if you knew this. Same company. The tea bags come in a yellow bag. It looks just like that. Same logo. I don't know if you knew this. The bags, which are really cool, they don't have a string or a label on them. It's just a bag, right? Why do we need the other? But what's great about it is you don't need to. It doesn't need hot water. You take one of those and pop them in a bottle of water, and 20 minutes. You look at the water; it's turned brown. The tea will absorb into room temperature water. This stuff. this yerba mate. So good stuff. Anyway, so I'm getting quite concerned about what's happening in India. We all should. I mean, first off, fellow human beings. I'm quite concerned what's happening in Alabama, in the Bronx. I mean, come on. I'm concerned about what's happening in, especially poorer people around the United States that have less access to healthcare, that have less access to uh, uh, being able to travel to where they can get a vaccine, all these things. And, you know, but certainly I have concern where I have relatives, I have, you know, people on my grandmother's side who are of Indian blood. So I have some Indian blood somewhere. My dad got married, uh, well, 3 times total, but with his second wife, with whom he had one of my sisters, she's an Indian woman. She's Indian and Irish, Indian and English, I think. And so I have Indian relatives. I have cousins that are, you know, Indian people, and my dad lived in India for 8 years. So, and I grew up in a country for 5 years that is just about 53% Indian. It's really close. But whatever the percentage is, we grew up in an Indian culture. We had Pagwa and Diwali, and I can't even remember some of the names of some of these holidays, but we all celebrated these holidays. What's the one where you throw the red dye and it gets all over your face and your hands? I think that's Pagwa. But I grew up eating all these Indian foods. It's part of my life. And so to watch this tragedy unfolding, wow, in this ancient, incredible country, um, it's, it's a nightmare to watch. Let's see comments. Mate drunk to, yes, to the small gourd. I think it's called a bomba or something. But yeah, we used to sell those at our natural food store. Tea has been my go-to. Absolutely, yeah. Tea is the bomb. I drink a lot of tea. Green tea, English breakfast tea, love it. Tea is very good for us. Plants, again, see? Solutions, polyphenols, bioflavonoids. You read about this stuff on the Time magazine, right? Every couple of years. Oh my God, bioflavonoids are really, really good. Polyphenols. And you're like, really? 80-year-old 80-year-old Japanese man says, hold my beer, hold my green tea. Are you serious? You're telling us now? So plants, folks. Blueberries, mangoes, avocados, onions, the allium family. Wow. Again, I chuckle when there's another article telling me that I should get more selenium because it's really good for your immune system. And it's like, well, yeah, that's what we eat as plant-based people that are eating a whole foods diet. We're eating lots of garlic and leeks and onions and scallions and so that's always funny. These articles keep coming out saying that. Robin Renee, how are you, my friend? And Robin, you know that, right? It's just like we roll our eyes, right? We've been doing this for a minute, and here's another article telling us that avocados are good. Thanks, guys. But it's cool. It's India would be difficult to shut down. Yes, of course. Yeah, which can't happen. I mean, just the infrastructure. The problem with India, I heard, I welcome or invite you to NPR did a great article the other day, and you can always listen back. It was Sunday. They had this gentleman on, happened to be an Indian man. He's a doctor. He has relatives in India. I think he had just lost a parent or an uncle or something in India. Very tragic. So he had a direct, but he was talking about, he was in America, practices here, and talking about, well, what happened. And one of the things is that, because remember, we were like, wow, India's numbers are pretty good. This is in a year ago, May, June, July, August, right? So he said there was a bunch of moving parts. First of all, they didn't have that first wave as hard because on average, much younger country. I believe he said average age 28. When you compare that to an Italy, for instance, or a Japan, which actually suffered from the older average age too. They got hit a lot harder people would have thought for their safety measures. But one of the reasons Italy got crushed, absolutely crushed, one of the 2 or 3 top oldest populations on Earth. I'm sorry, oldest average age of their population. Okay, so it's an older population, and it's a population that culturally has almost exclusively in some of the cities and stuff, especially grandparents living with their children who live with their children. So you have these 3 generations, and that's wonderful. I mean, that's great. If you can grow up, in that nice cross-generational kind of vibe. I love it. I love the vibe in Italy of all these people together, and you see these healthier older people as you do in Japan. But it hit them hard when this thing started happening, because that older, more susceptible group was right there with the 6 and the 18 and the 22-year-olds and the 40-year-olds who may have weathered through it. So they lost a lot of their older population, and then it just kept spreading. So anyway, in India, one of the things this doctor was saying was younger population. So there was just better survival rate early on. And also, India shut down their air travel right away. Did y'all know that? Almost right away, India, not 100%, but, vast majority of their flights coming in, they cranked down on and stopped them way early on. And that also helped, because then you stop that first wave of seeding your country. That's one of our problems with New York, is that we took so long to shut down New York, where you have JFK, where you're just you're just fertilizing this blow up. This is now, I'm talking February, March, April last year. JFK was a hotbed because people are flying in from all around. We didn't really understand what was happening, and then it was just seeding New York. So as you know, New York numbers stayed really high, and they had a lot of deaths. Proportionate in the USA, colossal amounts of deaths. So all of these things were different in India. And then there's a laundry list of theories. Do these folks have more vitamin A, vitamin D? They're in the sun. Is that, do those 2 vitamins, those 2 important fat soluble vitamins, in a higher level in a massive population of 1.3, 1.4 billion, did that help them? A lot of scientists say probably did. All these things added up. But then 2 things going to happen, and the same thing's happening in Brazil, same thing happening in the USA, is these variants start to spread. That's where the shit really hit the fan, because you do not have much immunity against the 2nd and 3rd and 4th variants. A lot of people are running around thinking, well, I'm immune. I had COVID last year. No. They're trying to tell you that's not a guarantee. Yes, you will most likely suffer a bit less if you caught it again. Absolutely, that they're showing that. But they don't know. They're not sure. And it depends on the variant now, right? There's all these different ones. I'm telling you, today's headline, they're talking about the Indian variant. And now that they've been able to run numbers on it for quite some time, they're saying, okay, this is not good. This is, a higher infective, it's a virus. It's, we have a quadrillion viruses on Earth. Very, 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 very tiny number of them comparatively jumps out of animals into humans. That's dramatic. And I'm amazed that people aren't just thinking about just that little bit of it. That's been making me crazy for a year. We have a scientist on here. We have probably a couple. We have my dear friend Robin Renee, who, Robin, you should come on and kick some science. Talk about the biology and the chemistry of this, because I don't know, man. People think it's a fucking joke. I think they can wish it away. We got another scientist, Pete Brunelli. What's up, bro? Tell me if you want to come on, man, and kick some science. But we got to have some wake-up calls. Is it too late for a wake-up call? in the U.S. So Sharon was there for Holy. Okay, I didn't know that one. There's people covered with colorful powder. Yeah, they don't kid around. Some of those Indian holidays are amazing. It's a week of food and partying, or maybe a couple days. Uh, Pete says all in this tea. It's okay. That's a great film about biodynamics, vermiculture, China, and delicious tea. I'm in. I am in. I take all these suggestions and I will bookmark that right now. Let's see what we got here. I might have seen a trailer for that. Is it it's on Amazon. Okay. Amazon Prime. I think I did see a clip of that. It caught my eye because it was about China and okay, cool. Thank you, sir. Excuse me. I'm burping. um Kevin, yes, you're right, Kevin. What's crazy is the refusal to accept the vaccine science. Just shows the amount of ignorance and lack of education. Same with Africa, East Asia, population control. Food was supposed to be scarce commodity next to water, but now it's COVID being the scourge. Um, I think you're saying same problems as in India. Yes, to varying degrees. Absolutely. Uh, let's see. Robin says, along with the plants are good for you, laughing at articles that come out once they say it's been determined that bisexuals exist. I know, right? Just like, oh, well, thank you, right? But yeah, modern Western culture. What are you gonna do? Michael Karopian, what's up, my friend? I see your bust of Zappa every day. It's on a beautiful little. We have a Buddha, your Zappa bust, and a what do you call them? Singing bowl, Tibetan singing bowl. We have a beautiful. It's our little, calm. So yeah, Zappa calms us down along with the Buddha, really, because it makes you go, there's a chance for intellect and logic and rational approach to human problems. So good to see you, Michael. Michael, man, I'm sitting here, bro, because of Gary Null. I mean, did you know that? We never talked about him. I love that though. You had no way of knowing that. I'll read it because it warms my heart. Michael says Gary Null has a daily noon show on PRN or WAI. He talks about many things for a healthier lifestyle and promotes the vegetarian diet. I love that, and I don't think we've ever talked about that, but I think you'll find it not hard to believe. I've probably listened to Gary Null more than well, I love talk radio, and I went on to listen to a lot of the right wing talk radio because I wanted to learn. So I listened to a lot of Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, all those people when they were just starting out. But you know what? Even though that was for a few years, I'm gonna go with. I've listened to more Gary Null than any of that shit. Oh yeah, bro. My whole college career at Middlesex County College, where I graduated and had an associate degree in computer science. I'm picturing now. Thank you. It's a beautiful memory. I just found out about vegetarian. I was 18 or 19 when I started getting these pamphlets and booklets, and somewhere right after I turned 19, I said, "That's it. I'm not eating that shit." And I was looking at books right around then because I listened to WBAI for the music and the politics and the Pacifica, we had the Iran-Contra trial was starting to happen, all that. And all of a sudden, here's this guy on noon every day talking about, hello, it's Gary Null with Natural Living, a show about solutions and approaches to a natural lifestyle. Today, we'll talk about tempeh and fermented soy products. What I like to do is sometimes bake tempeh and use a little bit of toasted sesame oil. He had this soft kind of a voice. No, bro, thank you. I mean, for other folks that don't know, man, that's my shit. I can't even thank that guy enough. It's impossible. Changed my life. I bought one or two of his books. And then when we had our natural food store, we had a few of Gary Null vitamins, And I remember there was a controversy about a couple of things. Like a couple of things had gelatin in them. And we were like, what the fuck, Gary Null? How are you going to be putting CoQ10 and pycnogenol in a gelatin capsule. So I remember there was some funny things, and we would call up his customer service, and oh well, it gets packaged somewhere else. So anyway, I remember some things there. But the man is a genius. I was just wondering a couple months ago if he's alive, what's he doing? He's got to be in his 80s, right? Right? I mean, does anyone know? I'll look real quick. But he's an absolute um, kind of giant in all this. I know he's controversial. There's some stuff where, people call him a conspiracy theorist, and, let's see, how old is he? Oh, he's 76. Okay. Yeah. Gary No, Parkersburg, West Virginia. And yep, he's often called a what you call it? Pseudoscience guy. Um, yeah, it's tough because he speaks so much shit that I live by and I know is real. But yeah, he goes on the fringe on a couple of things, and that's all you need in today's, they're calling him an HIV/AIDS denialist. He believes nutritional deficiencies are the causative agents of all illnesses and has accordingly promoted fringe diet-based treatment regimes for curing AIDS and other illnesses. Null holds strong anti-vaccination views and rejects the scientific consensus on topics such as water fluoridation, genetically modified organisms, and electromagnetic fields. So that's interesting. So I agree with some, I disagree with others. I mean, the vaccine thing, folks. I mean, come on, not to get bogged down in it, but I don't like vaccines. I don't like the idea, but we're on a planet where humans have changed our biosphere. We've changed our immune response. We've changed animals. We've changed the chemistry. It's not this fantasy. That's the funny thing. And you get that fantasy. Natural foods people have this fantasy, and I have a career with natural foods people, but a lot of them are fucking batshit crazy because they think, because it feels so natural and we're out in the air and we're chanting and we're doing yoga and we're simplifying. Sometimes you creep into, and that means it's 1603 and it's not 1603. It's not 1603. You're showering in fluoridated, chlorinated water. You're inhaling car fumes and, all kinds of off gassing from your building material. You're eating foods that are hybridized, even good vegetables, good foods. They're not what you had in 1703. So you really could make a laundry list of how there's some rebalancing that needs to be done. Even the idea of people who say, like, I don't need to take vitamins. I just eat. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't, but don't discount it on the grounds that your grandparents didn't. Your grandparents, almost guaranteed, were eating food in much more balanced soil and much more mineralized soil situations, much more crop rotation, much less hybridized foods. I mean, this whole list of stuff. So the natural foods people are sometimes nutty because they don't realize that shit's different. So vaccines, as tragic as some of them can be, we've had polio, we've had measles outbreaks, smallpox over the centuries, over and over, smallpox wiping out millions of people. I get it. I get the argument of, well, just let them all die, survival of the fittest. I mean, I hear that. I don't necessarily get it. Like, I agree with it, but the fact is, vaccines have saved lives. I hate it, but here we are. Having said that, I wish they were way more regulated, way more, 5 times more regulated. We should be climbing up the asses of these companies and, independent reviews, a lot more liability. These compounding firms that are wow, there's so little regulation, folks, in the USA compared to what you probably think, and compared to what's in most of the rest of the world, developing countries and quote unquote developed countries. Uh, so I'd like to see way more regulation, way more care taken, way more attention to a little more premium ingredients. So there's definitely questions and concerns for vaccines, but they work. Here we are. Uh, so anyway, so Gary Null, inspiring that little segment, but then they say he rejects the consensus on water fluoridation. I mean, come on, fluoridation is 100 years old, and this notion that we couldn't survive without it ignores, first of all, that fact that it's a new thing. It also makes an end run around major parts of planet Earth that don't fluoridate water yet have really good bones, really good teeth. So that's a whole other discussion. But dental hygiene is probably why people hold on to their teeth more rather than the fluoride. It's because we've educated people about flossing and brushing and not eating as many sweets and all that. GMOs, I love that. They hit him on that. And again, I'm going to be team null on that. I do not want a peach or a tomato with fish genes in it. I just don't want it. I'm sorry. Can I have that choice? So I'm a strong advocate of labeling GMOs, especially cross species genetic stuff, which is rampant. I get it. I've heard the arguments of yellow rice, for instance. It's a rice that they genetically modify so that it's got a higher amount of, I believe, vitamin A, right? Or beta carotene. So that in countries where there's rickets and scurvy and all these different things, you can feed kids rice and they're getting, scurvy is vitamin C, of course. But I get it. I get that there's a handful of benign uses of GMOs. GMO yeast is used in wine production, beer production. That's pretty normative at this point. But a slightly genetically modified yeast organism, microorganism, versus taking mice genes and putting them in a potato or whatever fucked up shit they do. No, I don't want it. The trout genes in tomatoes and cherries, or who's coming up with this shit? So what I don't like is the GMO people hide behind the nice story of we're helping blindness in India. What? Don't blame us. When the other side, where they're forcing third world farmers to patent seed or to buy their patented seeds, right? It's a nightmare. I'm sure you've heard those stories. The suicides in your Zimbabwe's and Sudan's and central India, when farmers realize that they can't afford to buy, next year's Monsanto seeds, when they've simply saved seeds every season for their whole lives and their grandparents and their great grandparents and their great great grandparents' lives. All of a sudden, Monsanto comes along and says, "Yeah, we have a patent on those your crops, the seeds. Sorry, you have to, what?" So, GMOs, yeah, complicated story. So, thank you, Michael Karopian, for launching that whole love fest on Gary Null. And I get it; he's got a couple controversial things, as I said, but I sit here to salute the man and to say he changed my life because he hit so many topics, right? Body care and vitamins, minerals, all kinds of. I learned about essential fats, the role of fiber, the role of what's an antioxidant and where does it sit in your immune picture. I learned so much from him about digestive health and how that's ground zero, folks. You gotta have digestive health. You gotta know what's going on with your intestinal flora, right? With the beneficial microorganisms, millions, billions of them that live inside you, and but just learning a little bit and learning about acid alkaline and what am I putting in my body? Why is my digestion horrible for 20 years? I've met people like that, and I'm like, well, why didn't you do something about it? Like, so Gary Null is one of those first people to really educate me on things like apple cider vinegar and the benefits of pickled food, fermented food. Wow. And what's amazing about this is that I learned from this man starting around 1983, 84, and I've tested what he's talking about. Here I sit almost 40 years later. Knock on wood. Where's some wood? Here's knock on wood. I could keel over tomorrow. I don't know. People die for nothing. I'm not doing this to live forever. I'm doing this so tomorrow I feel really good. And that's why I do this. But at 56, I'm not on any drugs. You go to any doctor because I ask them every year when I get a checkup, which my checkup is in 3 days, so I can report back on my numbers as I often do. But every year they say, wow, 56-year-old black man, or 53, 54, 55, all the way up. You should be on we're okay. That's all right. Your numbers are great, but usually you'd be on Coumadin by now, or these 3 diabetic drugs, or this one for the heart, or this one for blood pressure, or this one for hypertension, or this one for chronic bone loss, or this one for, I'm not bragging, folks. I'm just saying, because it's just my personal choice. No one else has to take any advice from me. I'm just saying, though, I took the advice of a great number of people, many books that I read. The Diamonds was brought up the other day on an interview. Marilyn Diamond and I forget her husband, Jethro Kloss, and Back to Eden. That's a great book, and the Moosewood Cookbook and The Higher Taste. So many books I read. A couple Gary Null books, and I'm here to say I've been a laboratory of all that stuff because it's reality, and the preponderance of people around planet Earth show that this, at least leaning in a little harder on plant-based is a good idea. Let's go back to some comments. Antoine, what's up, my friend? Let's hang soon, man. Come on by one of the synth weekends. And Sharon says, Robin, we definitely exist. Yes, you do. Antoine. Okay, and then Michael. Yeah, thank you, Michael. A couple good things there. Robin says she tries to speak scientific reality as much as she can when she hears people. Yeah, how do you not believe in viruses? Oh my God, I'm fascinated though. As you know, I love science, and I have I don't have a life sciences degree, but I have a computer science degree and associates in science, 1985, Middlesex County College. And as you know, as we've discussed, in that course of study and, heading towards being an engineer, but I never was, I took a lot of college level and university level, 3 years of calculus, physics, a year of chemistry, 2 semesters of chemistry, man. That's the shit. 2 semesters of biology, and so I really, really give thanks that I took that stuff, even if I didn't go further down that road. I took statistics, combinatorics. I was thinking about this the other day because it sucked when you're in the middle of it, right? Stuff's hard, but I did enjoy it on a certain level because I love math. And I was just thinking about this the other day about weighted data, right? Or data, if you prefer, and how mathematical ignorance, which America excels. I mean, we're number one in that, right? I was talking to my sister about how we joke around. If we've all done this. You might be at Starbucks, and your change is, I don't know, $4.97, or or the bill is $4.97. So you're going to get 3 cents back. And if you got a couple pennies, you drop. You ever do this? You put them on the counter. So there's 2 pennies, but there's a 7 at the end of the bill. Their head explodes, right? Now, I'm not going to just bash on millennials because this has been happening for a couple generations. But we've all been there. And people go, well, no, it was only $4.97. And it's like, I know that, but this way you can give me a nickel or whatever the numbers are, right? You've all done this, so you can get a dime back, or, and heads explode in retail usually. And you go, oh my God, just type it in. And I've seen them mess it up typing it in because then they can't. But we joke about that, and we scoff, and we walk away, and we go, oh man. But you know what? We have a culture like that. I've seen it in the news where when they say something's 20%, they explain that they say what the percent is and the fraction. They say, we're going to make sure that somehow you understand this. But the concept that 0.33 is 32% is 1/3, that's lost on a lot of people. And again, I'm not mad at them. I'm not hating them. I'm just saying it sucks that we got here, because this year has depended on your capacity to understand math. It really has. And I think it still does. I hear people talking about, well, that's finally over. Well, what's over? Well, I got my vaccine and it's over. We have the number 2 worst numbers on the planet. Well, what do you mean? Well, I mean number 2. Do you understand what that means? There's number 1, then there's number 2. That's where we are. And we only got taken over just weeks ago from India. I should learn the date so I can rant about it. But you all, people watching and hanging out here with me, you watch the news. We just got overtaken by India days ago. I can't even call it a month. We're number 2. So let's hold both thoughts, folks. Let's be actually really happy that whatever it is, something like on the order of 145, 150 million Americans. So someone give me an exact number if you have it, but on the order of somewhere around there, we're pushing 45% complete vaccination in the USA, and a little higher than that if we count people with 1 shot. But the troublesome thing there is a lot of people, millions, I think it's close to the double digits, millions now, are not going back for shot number 2. So you have some moving parts there. So let's be happy. Let's rejoice that we really, people stepped up and they went out and got these shots, and we're something like we're in the top 4 or 5 countries for per capita vaccination, right? What's number 1? Quick quiz. Anyone know number 1 country per capita on vaccines? I think I'll just go ahead and say it because it's very, very big news. Israel, right? They went a different way and made a deal with, I think it was Pfizer, whichever one it was, Moderna, I don't know. And they were able to get a good price and get it early and get a full dose of it, a full supply. In exchange, they exchanged a lot of research information, a lot of data back to these companies. That's not going to work in America because people are going to flip the fuck out about my freedoms and my privacy and all this. I don't want to call it nonsense, but misguided, because all that shit's out there already, folks. Come on. These people that I don't want the government knowing where I am. Oh, well, you don't have one of these? Okay. So funny stuff. Null does his research. Sharon says HIV denial. Yeah, he's complicated on HIV. I'd say that it's a little tough to just put his views in a sentence, and I would caution against that. Here's a man who's written, I don't know, probably 30 books at this point, and correct me if I'm wrong, maybe more. And he has spoken, thus spake Zarathustra, thus spake Gary Null. He's talked a lot about, and I have to say, I was listening to him talking about HIV in 1983. So to be fair, he's definitely been on the case for a long time. I am not saying that means he's got it right, but he's got some interesting views and some interesting stuff about, uh, you know, um, just viral biology and just what may or may not be going on there. So I don't think he's as simple as a denier, but he's definitely got a lot to parse and to go through. But check him out, and again, on the hundreds of things he talks about, don't um, we all disagree with vanguard thinkers on certain things, right? And that's okay. The Ganges River running through Bangladesh and India probably not helping with the pollution of adding ash. I know it's a tough one there. We were talking about that last week. Pete Brunelli says the big note. Yes, the Zappa. Didn't Null have the Gredden range? Yes. So Gary Null had these really good. I thought that they passed muster as far as I was concerned. Nothing artificial, no refined sugar, no weird excipients thrown into it. And one of them was green, one was red, exactly. And again, he was way ahead. If we want to look at kind of like the Time magazine headlines of, catechins are good, and bioflavonoids and polyphenols, and all these things that you find in foods, all these extracts that are in teas. Is that how you pronounce it? Catechins. I'm never sure how to pronounce it, but that's like in green tea and then different chocolate, I think, and different maybe some fruits. So he had this red powder and a green powder, which brought stuff like chlorophyll and vitamin K and all this stuff. So it was cool. I just ate kale and ate fruit and stuff. I don't think maybe I tried stuff like that once or twice, but that's the thing. This shit is so much simpler than people make it. Just fucking eat the rainbow. Why is this hard? Have a salad every day and count a bunch of stuff in it. It's not hard. Have something green, kale, lettuce, broccoli, bok choy, arugula. I'll even go to bat for what's the one everyone hates? Iceberg lettuce. I'll eat an iceberg lettuce salad. People are insane. Get a fucking iceberg lettuce salad, but then put some arugula in there. Put some mushrooms in there. Put a hot pepper in there. Cut an avocado. Put the whole thing in there. Put a scallion in there. Chop a few cloves of garlic and put that in there. Little apple cider vinegar, a little olive oil. Bingo. Incredible meal. Add some pine nuts or Brazil nuts or walnuts. Suddenly you got everything. Protein, fat-soluble vitamins, chlorophyll, fiber. It's not hard, folks. People make it hard. But if that's your backbone, like every day you're eating some live food and you're looking at colors, you're saying, you know what? I haven't had purple cabbage in a while. Let's have one of those suckers. Cherries are in season. Blueberries. Oh, wow. I haven't had, artichokes. Green's easy, right? Because a lot of things are green. But try those purple carrots instead. Find some heirloom foods. Tomatoes that are, different species. Just mix up the colors. Of course, citrus, oranges, lemons. You've seen this movie before. They've recommended it, and they're right. Lemons have something in it that oranges don't. Yes, they overlap. They're both citrus. They're both, cousins. They're both, acidic fruits with vitamin C, blah, 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 bioflavonoids. There's good stuff in the skin. So juicing those kind of things are wonderful. If you have a juicer, put the whole lemon in there. I think for a lot of you folks, that's stuff but for some of you that don't, that's good info. You should always have lemons in your house. If you're here and you're here today to talk about optimizing health. So yeah, all these powders and shakes and stuff. That's one thing. Gary Null did have a lot of like products and candy bars with, but he was speaking to the market, and I'm not hating on him. He made a lot of money to pay for that Manhattan apartment by selling, Gary Knoll chocolate bars, and so there's some fringy stuff. Michael says yes, he does get the facts on things as a chemist. Yeah, is he a chemist? I forget what his actual. He's got definitely a couple of degrees. Wikipedia's tried to blacklist him because of alternative medicine. Yeah, that's a shame because I love Wikipedia. Second dose on Thursday. Great, Sharon. Yeah, let's get these numbers at least crawling towards better. Michael says Gary will debate anyone on any topic. A man after my own heart. Hearts. Yeah, I'm telling you, bro, you hit on a nerve here. That man, emphatic love. Chemicals added to wheat fields. We talked about that last week with my dear friend Pete Brunelli. We were talking about glyphosate, which is used all across America on wheat. And there's a lot of bad news if you read about that, especially. And you always get these naysayers who say, who defend these kind of chemical excipients, and they always leave out one little thing. As much as you can show harmlessness of this or that, we're talking about eating it in small doses over 30, 40, 50 years. And then, remember that George Carlin joke? I mean, he kind of poked fun at the natural foods thing and about taking care of yourself. And I get it. He was coming from being in California in the 70s, and things were presented to you like a fad back then. So I get it. I got a sense of humor, and I get where you could be cynical. If you're in California in 1973, it must have been unbearable, right? Just people telling you to put wheat germ on everything and yogurt on everything, and they're all jogging. So 3 good ideas. I mean, but any of you alive long enough know that there was a period of time when it was just insufferable. Natural foods people, it still is. If you go to you find the right Karen in a Whole Foods. But George Carlin, he had this one joke. He said he would do the fake news. Remember? Speaking about fake news, he would do that thing, and he'd say, and scientists have just found that saliva causes cancer. Here's the good news, though. Only when swallowed in small amounts over a long period of time. So very funny. But there to glyphosate and 100 other things that we have little bit of over a long period. That's why we got to fight back and build our immune systems. I've been talking about this, most of my life, but here for a year. Be my witness. Frank Bellina, love you, bro. You might have been the first motherfucker to tune in, bro. I appreciate that. I love you, bro. You were on here in March of 2020 when I started saying, hey, how does this Facebook Live work? I knew a little bit, but Frank, you'll be my witness. You be my witness, and several of you others, Kevin Ritchie, be my witness. I was on here a year ago. What was I talking about? Build your immune system. Build your immune system. Eat more raw foods, live foods. If you eat dairy and meat and things like that, I said, start getting better quality. Start spending 50% more on that shit. And think twice about the dairy. If we're talking about a respiratory disease right now, can you take a month off of a mucus-forming food, of a food with dozens of hormones and steroids in it? It's just a month. Let's see where this thing's going. But they're saying it's respiratory, your lungs fill up, all of these things that are adjacent to severe bronchitis and asthma and all these things times 1,000. Maybe you want to avoid mucus-forming foods. I talked about this a year ago. Maybe you want to build your immune system. Get that vitamin C up, vitamin A, vitamin D. Have some colloidal silver. Have some andrographis around. These are antiviral substances. I was talking about it a year ago, and I said, and since it's respiratory, get serious about what they're warning us about. Like this don't be out in crowds right now. Don't be out until we figure some more out. That this was March of last year. That's why I just I'm almost speechless that there's still motherfuckers not understanding how serious this is. All right, back to your comments. Frank Bellina, okay, you got Dr. Oz on there. Dr. Oz Nutritional. So I don't have time to watch that right now, but give us a quick abstract. Is that which way is John Oliver going? Let me bookmark that one too. John Oliver, I suppose that's John Oliver. I can't see in the thumbnail, but is it? Yeah, last week tonight. Okay, I love Oliver. Dr. Oz, he's mixed bag, right? But what does John Oliver say? Let's listen. Okay. That's funny. Can you guys hear this? I don't know. Oh, wait, I got
He
Chrome.
criticized the talk show host for describing untested weight loss supplements as magical or miraculous.
I want you to write it down.
Okay.
Garcinia cambogia, because it may be the simple solution you've been looking for to bust your body fat for good.
Okay.
Now I got the #1 miracle in a bottle to burn your fat.
Lightning in a bottle. It's a miracle flower to fight fat.
Okay.
Miracle flowers.
Okay, so all right, I'm not going to watch the whole thing, but let's jump back to the stream. Thank you, Frank. So, one of the problematic things about natural living and about natural life is when it collides with marketing. Yeah, I've grappled with that for 40 years, almost. And so right off the bat, there's Dr. Oz, who does have that snake oil kind of a vibe, right? He looks a little slimy, right? He's definitely got that cheesy salesman hairstyle and the cheap suit, right? He just screams, Holiday Inn over by the highway exit conference room where you get a free steak and if you just come on down to hear our pitch. So he's got that vibe. I get it. But then the yin yang of that is, and I only listened to the first couple of seconds. I'll watch the rest. I love John Oliver. I think he's, very, fair on stuff. So I'm pretty sure I agree with the video. But the problem we have is right away he mentions Garcinia cambogia, for instance, which I've seen that work really well for people 25 years ago. I mean, it's nothing new. It's from, if I remember correctly, a melon, like a Pacific melon. And they discovered actually that people in some of those Pacific islands, they eat those melons all the time. And they're really good for sugar metabolism, and people that are diabetics can get some help with this kind of stuff. Again, to my point, the real message is just stop eating things out of a package. Just go more towards where humans evolved. Eat vegetables, eat fruits. And if you're going to eat flesh of an animal, why not eat the organs? Actually, I have such a long list of topics to do every week, and I never get to it. But one of my arguments is it's the organs that are actually the healthier part of the animal. We should be eating kidneys and livers and the heart and all kinds of things. Some cultures you eat all of that and the brains and stuff. And we go, that's so gross. Well, you're eating the muscles of these animals, of a cow and a pig. You're eating the muscles and a chicken. The liver in that chicken is so much healthier than some of the other, fatty portions. But the point being, you would be doing a lot more about natural nutrition if you actually ate the organs of animals. So little detraction there, but I love making that point over and over and over, which is just simplify stuff, folks. And as I always say, I'm not an absolutist. I have been. I've been a raw foodist for 2 years. I ate nothing but raw food, and I may go back to that. I'm certainly upping my percentage, especially in the spring and summer. I love it. I love eating more salads, more fruit, more raw foods, more sprouted foods. More pickled foods. Um, but yeah, we're gonna go have a tamale. We're gonna have you know a delicious ramen with all kinds of great vegetables in there. So we eat things that are processed, but again, if you can just for yourself say, I didn't eat anything raw today. What am I doing? That's the time to eat something raw and real. So back to Dr. Oz. So yeah, I don't have to say much more. Yeah, he's kind of a snake oil guy. And even though Garcinia cambogia is a fine product and it's a fine thing, and I'm sure, because I've heard Dr. Oz, I've seen him on Oprah and his own shows and stuff. And really, 90% of what he's talking about is stuff that I've lived in my life. I've seen people around the world use. But yeah, he puts it in that jar and it's $39.95. And you're like, wait a minute. Why don't I just eat a mango instead of some excipient that is extracted from mangoes that he's telling you is gonna, So okay, point well taken there, and I agree, yeah. And nutritional supplements should be more regulated. That's a tricky one though. You know what? I'm gonna say no until we're regulating pharmaceuticals even more. How about that? Let's have a deal. Nutritional supplements are pretty well regulated. You can't do a lot of stuff. There's a little range of. I think that the public just needs to be more educated. I just think in the free market, it's on you if you're fooled by My Pillow guy or Dr. Oz. I'm sorry. I'm just that guy. I don't want government protection against kind of just make sure that nothing they're putting in there is toxic or poisonous or in the doses recommended. Make sure that the ingredients they list are what's in there. And how do you do that? By having an FDA that will do surprise testing, by having competitors that will buy your product and test it and do an assay and say, yep, that's what's really in there. There's 250 milligrams of pycnogenol or whatever it might be. Yep, okay, yep, there's 400 IUs of A in this formula. They're telling the truth. So I want that kind of regulation. But it gets tricky if you're going to regulate the part where it says, this will help you lose weight or this will, because often it will, but not if you're going to keep eating cookies every day. So, you know what I mean? So regulation gets tricky. I think we're very regulated for nutritional supplements already. And I would say I would not want to see any more until we see more on pharmaceuticals. I play a little game. And thank you, Frank Bellina. I had no audio on the Oliver. I kind of thought that caught me off guard production-wise. My loopback software was not didn't include Chrome. Frank, I think we talk about loopback. It's the shit, bro. As a sound person, check that out. And if you're not streaming or doing things, it's not that important. So I do a little thing here. Where's all my just to give an idea of how many fucking pharmaceuticals we have. And well, I'm not going to get into the crass humor side of this. Should I? Everyone gets so offended. But just to give you an idea, this is just ads for pharmaceuticals that I've written down the name over the past couple of years. Fasenra, Toujeo, Maviret, Otezla, Eliquis, Biktarvy, Belsarma, Trintellix, Tecfidera, Tremfya, Quibrexa, Humira, Elmiron, Skyrizi, Linzess, Epclusa, Vraylar, Picray, Trilogy, Nuplazid, Latuda, Zofluza, Illumia, Ocrevus, Cimzia, Vascepa, Dupixent, Emgality, Imovig, Cosentyx, Xeljanz, Prolia, Bidurian, Besice. The 2-word one. That kicks my ass. Entresto, Kisquali, Dovato, Ibrance, Sofluza, Baclovin, Kylina, get your ass in this house. Versenio, I told you 1,000 times. Rexulti, put those keys down, boy. Palforzia, what are you doing? Vescapa, Entevio, Strelara, Rinvog, I'm tired of talking to you. Descovi, Ubrelvi, Nucala, Baximi, Steglusion, I'm tired of you. Embrel, Nurtec, Opdivo, and Yervoy, the twins. Imbruvica, Voltoran, Ribelsis, Nulasta, Zedra, Zedula, Saxenda, Farxiga. Isn't she the actress in Bates Motel? Sinosi, Brilenta, Orencia, Casimta, Zarelto. Holy fucking shit. I just for fun, I write down the ads, and yeah, it sounds like some names I've heard. My son, Tujeo, and his sister, Fasenra. I can't help myself. But in all seriousness, folks, that's fucked up, right? These ads just blow by us. And I don't even watch that much TV. I don't. You know where I am all the time. I'm playing music, recording music, streaming, teaching, doing this, doing interviews. I watch a movie once in a while, and I love it. I'm not one of these elitists. Oh, I don't watch anything. I wish I could. I love SVU, and I love I can't remember. Handmaid's Tale and things like that. But there's no ads on those. But when I watch something with ad, and you can, right? You all know this. Every fucking second ad is pharmaceuticals. What's going on? I read this stuff and they say people my age are on average on 8 drugs. Wow. Well, I'm not on any. So someone out there is on 12 or 16. I've seen some of them. Wow. So that's where the regulation should be, my friend. Thank you, Frank, for inspiring that rant. Michael says the rest of the world is against GMO. Yeah, pretty much, man. There's strict laws in Europe and strict laws in Uruguay, Paraguay, Chile, all around the world. I don't get it. Stone fruits taste much better. Yeah, any fruits with the seeds left in them. Michael, thank you, bro. Thanks for being here. Seeds are, yes, exactly. They sell those seeds with the fungicides and herbicides and fertilizers that fit right in them. It's sick what Monsanto's doing. Just disgusting. Frank wants a fish with peach genes. Yeah, flip it around. Weighted Dada. I like that. That's an album cover, album title. Isn't that an Alice Cooper album in the 80s? Dada. That's a good record. Scott Mulder, what's up, my bro? I owe you a call and I owe you a response. You sent me a cool video the other day. Invest in your health today, not on the pharmaceuticals you need later. I love it. Did you write that? That's a good one. Sharon says, math professor in college. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, these are all important things. Israel, indeed, that was the answer to the most per capita. Rob Renee, okay, fully vaccinated tomorrow. Great. Yeah, very cautiously. Exactly. Thank you, my friend. Please, we need you here. Spend time with a few vaccinated friends. Likewise, we went out for the first time in 14 months to be around other people on Saturday. The 3 other people we were around were vaccinated. And, I still was like looking around like at the other picnic tables, like, because that's the interesting thing. What do you know about the other 5 people with no masks? And again, I know there's going to be critics and there's going to be skeptics. We've got new variants now. So even those of us vaccinated can catch these new variants. Now, all the science seems to be showing that, okay, it's a variant, but it's still the same species. So you do have way enhanced immunity than if you didn't have a shot. Likewise, if you had COVID last year, and I was just talking to two different friends who had it, absolutely, you have way enhanced immunity compared to never having this in your body. But neither case has you completely safe from the B1117 or the B1, what's it, 617, the Indian one, or the Brazilian one, which is kicking their ass in Brazil. You can scroll away and not read this news. I don't really care. But the fact is, this shit is taking a new path every couple months. So I applaud you, Robin Renee. Yes, be careful out there, and just, you're a scientist, literally. So I know you're gonna keep tracking, the spread and all this. This is where it gets interesting, though, because they're saying that we've just about topped out on everyone that's going to get a vaccine in America. There is some numbers of people who have not had the access to it, so they're going to try to increase that and go into neighborhoods, go into areas where people are compromised for traveling to medical care and whatnot. That other little bunch, though, that's insisting on not having it. One of the things that's on my list to talk about is the vaccine confirmation argument. I'm not going to use the word passport because I've seen some arguments saying that that's not a great word for it. And I like that. That it's just confirmation, just like you have to confirm in a public school, most of them in America, that you've had measles, mumps, and rubella. I'm a teacher. I'm a substitute teacher over 20 years. I can't teach without the MMR. Okay? In some states require MMRV, which is the 4 target vaccine. But you have a choice. I don't have to teach. No one's forcing me. I can choose another job. So this is what we're going to see, folks. You think the mask debate was fucking heavy? Wait till you see what happens with having to show vaccine. Christopher Lowry, how about Japan handling the COVID situation? Wow. What a long, I could do 2 hours just on that, bro. But in brief, I haven't checked on them in a couple weeks. I have some friends in Japan. They go up, they go down. Well, one of the things, one of the bad things about Japan, or the unfortunate things, I should say, as I was saying at the beginning of this, or earlier on, it's an average older population. So that's really problematic. So when your average age is, I forget what it is, but it's way up there. It's a very old population. And there's a beauty about that. I've been to Japan 8 times. I love it. I crave Japan. It's just a beautiful place to be. It's very calming, very beautiful, very quiet. You feel the quietness, which is good for someone like me. I'm loud, and that gets me quiet because I'm just drinking a green tea, sitting on the sidewalk, just watching Japanese people. Wow, this is amazing. They're so focused on just moving through the day. No one yelling on their cell phones. Wow. All I hear is car tires. Wow. It's a very calming and quiet place. Of course, there's noises of the city and all that. Anyway, having said that, what you see that's amazing is a lot of old people. Like, you really feel it, like in and out of stores, just walking around. Because when we're in Japan, I've been there many times. I've only been there once with Robin. We walked a lot. We took subways every day, which are incredible. And you see all these old people, and they stand up straight. They're not bent over with their backs all screwed up, and they look slender and healthy and pretty vibrant, at a much older age than we're used to. So it's really striking because you don't see a lot of old people in America. Right? We're walking around in Chicago or New York or Atlanta or Birmingham or Raleigh or Seattle or Lawrence, Kansas, or New Orleans, or Indianapolis, or Pittsburgh, or Buffalo. I've been all around the United States, Boston, Burlington, Vermont. I could go on and on. Tempe, Arizona. Doesn't matter. You see slightly different types of people and slightly different health, but you don't see like tons and tons and tons of really healthy old people. I'm talking, 75, 80, 85 years old. And so Japan, that's the first thing you notice. So unfortunately, that bit them on the ass hard, having a population that's more susceptible. So I know that, and I know on the other side, though, they did really well in some ways because they're used to masking. And you and I maybe debated about that, or definitely debated some people who had a problem with masks. And I brought up over and over and over, here's a culture with decades of wearing masks. Why? Politeness. If they have a cold, they don't want to give someone a cold. Wow, what weirdos. Thinking about the other people on the bus, on the train. Strange. But so they have a culture of caring about the collective. Of course, as soon as you hear the word collective, to people of a certain political stripe, their heads explode, right? I'm not a collective. I'm a rugged American, and I'm gonna. Oh God. So Japanese see themselves. Not all. I'm not saying all of them, but vast majority of people, have a different culture that kind of says, yeah, we're on this island together. There's limited space. There's limited resources. How can I, and that's true in many places around the world, many, many places, So they already were used to wearing masks. They also wear them. I understand there's some vanity reasons. Sometimes people, mostly women, who are just culturally wearing makeup and stuff like that, they sometimes, I just learned this in the last year or so, sometimes say, yeah, I've got a pimple, or I'm going to wear a mask, or I've got a cold sore. Men and women say that. I didn't know that. So there's a couple different reasons that you wear masks in Japan. And then the other reason, besides you having a cold, if you know it's cold and flu season and you're going to be on that tube, on that subway, just crammed in with lots of people, you wear a fucking mask because you're thinking, I don't want to get sick. So that's one thing I've learned and seen in Japan, wall-to-wall masks, very normative. So that helped them out. I think they also had, some problems like India, where their numbers were really good for a while and they got a little lax and started having concerts and started having different gatherings, and then spiking happened. So again, Japan has gone up and down like just about everywhere else that's kind of a first world nation. Their numbers don't come close to ours. Our numbers are so bad. They're just orders of magnitude above these countries. Even when these countries are saying we're melting down, it's a fraction of what we have, and we're walking around just saying, "Oh yeah, man, going to Sturgis. How about you?" So very odd. Let's see. Frank says Gary Null claimed his vitamin regimen would bring back hair color on PBS. I know, but he obviously had dyed hair. I know. Yeah, he's got some flaky, kind of things, as I said. But in the aggregate, over the course of 1,000 topics, he's opened the door for some stuff. Pete, I can respond to you live here. I'd love you to be on, but I've had a technical problem. I'm only live. Let's see. How can you have a second person on Facebook? I've never done that. So let's do it another week, bro. I think it's technical because I wanted to have, a biologist on here today, a scientist again, but I've got technical issues. Actually, I should go look at YouTube. So what's happening is I'm broadcasting on, where is it? There it is. I'm on YouTube. Oh, here's Jen. Hey, Jen Fair, how are you? See, it's always good to glance over on YouTube. Hey, Jen, you're watching at work. Thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate your presence. So I'm on YouTube and Twitter and Twitch through my Zoom, but for some reason, the Facebook Connect with my multi-streaming thing wasn't working. So I got to give some respect. Anyone on Twitch? Anyway, hi Jen. I don't see anyone right now on Twitter, but someone was there before. But we'll do some guests next week. In fact, we have a guest next week who is she runs a farm sanctuary. Okay, great. So looking at Twitch here, there's always a couple people watching on Twitch. She runs a farm sanctuary. Oops. A couple people watching on Twitch. She runs a farm sanctuary. I love Twitch, by the way. I got to do more there. You all know about Twitch? It's mostly young people. I love doing games and gaming, like playing games and live broadcasting it with tens of thousands of people watching. You know, I love talking about the music biz, as you know. And one of the things musicians my age and some younger, this is going to offend people, trigger warning. But a lot of people cry and bitch and moan and complain about streaming because it's the one thing. That's the one thing that's destroyed my career. No, it's not. It's there's 100 things, you know. But one of them is the change in our economy. You know, we're a global economy now. So when you grew up, there was X amount of people producing music. Now there's 10,000 X. You can admit that or not, but that's what's happened. So everyone's got a cheap little laptop now, and you can make music anywhere around the world. So there's that much more music. So that's number one. But number two, do you want to know where the 12 to 22-year-olds are? They're on Twitch. Don't believe me? Google it. Find this shit out. The gaming streaming thing is, wow, in the hundreds of millions. I mean, it's mind-blowing. I'm not saying these people don't listen to music, but they spend huge swaths of their time with gaming and with fantasy world stuff, and that's cool if that's what they. But I think we need to understand that it's never going to be 1989. You're never going to have. Yeah. So I have a lot of friends and colleagues banging their heads, trying to make it 1989 again, and no, just embrace 2021 with a lot of amazing shit you didn't have in 1989. Rob Renee says the quarter head of lettuce salad tumulties. That's, you know, I don't know if I ever had that, but that sounds familiar. That's great though. Yeah, I'll eat iceberg lettuce any day. Robert Bruce says, fuck crowds. Sharon says, missing George Carlin. Yes, he was, you know, what a sage. John Oliver on respecting black people's hair. Yeah, that's great. So did Chris Rock in that movie. Organs is the reason he became a vegetarian in the first place, Robert says. Okay. Yes, there you go, Frank. Loop back. I love it. I just had it off right there because I didn't think I was using Chrome audio. Onboard radio processor, breakaway pipeline. Okay, awesome. Yeah. And Reaper. Yeah. Oh, okay. I thought we had talked about loopback. Cool. I'm glad you know about it. Sharon, happy birthday. Happy belated birthday. As of right. Okay, great. Yeah. Yeah, I know. You know, I'm rolling this around in my mind every day because now I'm going to hang out with vaccinated people. But who are they hanging out with? And the person they're hanging out with, who's their roommate? Is that person an anti-vaxxer or hasn't gotten one yet because of some other, because, oh, I had it last year, or because of some compromised thing, or so this is what we now have to contend with, that there are variants punching through the vaccine. This is real. Go look it up. Don't believe me. People with both vaccines are getting a second or third variant from the one that the ones that the vaccines were tested for. So this is a new concern because, so all it means is just be careful out there. If you can, you're hanging out with vaccinated family members, people you know and trust and know, yeah, they're not rushing out to clubs. This is a person who's being careful like I am. But we would not have second worst numbers on Earth if all of this wasn't true. Again, don't take it from me. Just Google this shit. I'm amazed at how many people I'm talking to they stopped reading things. They stopped. And what do I read? I read New York Times, National Geographic, Nature. I look at the WHO abstracts. Okay. I look at what college was I looking at the other day? It was either Harvard or Yale, had some medical abstract breakdown on viral activity. I just read a lengthy thing from World Health Organization in 2006 talking about wet markets, talking about viral outbreaks in the wet markets. So all of these nutcases who think that they just made up this wet market narrative. A friend of mine accused me of having a narrative the other day. No, you're just ignorant. Wet markets are not from last year or 2 years ago. They've been around a long time. They have accelerated in their damage in recent history, and let's say the last 25 years, as these super cities in China have gotten ridiculously huge, so have the wet markets. Okay, and as the viral load has just grown year after year. So truth be told, again, my motto is go look it up. Don't believe me. I'll put some links. But when you read about what they were already talking about with wet markets 8, 10, 12 years ago, shit is not good. See, we've been lucky. The outbreaks at the wet markets so far have been pretty localized. A few dozen people die, a few hundred people get sick. It stays right there. Things like Ebola, we were lucky. That was blood-borne, so pretty hard to get, but it was devastating in the parts of Africa it showed up. So we've been lucky. There've been these, but stop convincing yourself that this is like some unexpected anomaly. No, they actually were kind of tracking these things. As we all know, the fucked up part of the movie is the president we just got rid of, right? Because you all know, and if you don't, I'll remind you, he got rid of the very office in the White House that was parsing through all this info. The scientists and virologists and biologists and doctors and statisticians and experts whose job, their only job, this team, was to look around the world and say, we're plugged into WHO and to health departments of all of our ally nations and nations that we communicate with that aren't necessarily allies, but that's pretty much most of planet Earth. And their only job was to use math and computers and rationality and keep an eye and say, you know what? This one that we've been tracking here in Botswana is starting to be a little serious. Let's send, some outreach there, or let's enhance our communications. Let's look at that. What's that? There's that thing we've been tracking in Minnesota that's happening with deer or something, which exists. There's a prion similar to mad cow situation happening with deer. This office in the White House, that's what they did. That's what they did. That was their one little thing to do. It's a big thing, of course, but I'm saying the duality of it is that's all they were doing. Infectious viral activity, outbreaks. And he got rid of it, or his people. I mean, he doesn't think of anything, but got rid of it. Worst timing in a century. So anyway, I urge you to educate yourself more, folks. So one of the other things I read is that National Library of Medicine, which is part of the National Center for Biotechnology Information. I'm fascinated by this stuff. I'll put a link in the in the chat about an article I just read on interspecies transmission and emergence of novel viruses, lessons we can learn from bats and birds. This is, when is this one from? Most of these are a couple years ago. Because unlike what your crazy cousin sends you about Bill Gates, this isn't new. They've been looking and crossing their fingers and praying, those that pray, that a really big viral problem didn't break out. And here we are. Okay, so I'll put that link there. Let's see. Bang, bang. So that's, again, if you're science oriented, you want to read more science, but those are some of the things. I'll put both articles in there. There was that one, and there was a World Health. Of course, the World Health is, it's run by Fauci and a bunch of leprechauns. So, man, we're in trouble. I don't know where that article is. I think I read it and I moved on, but I try to save these. This is a pretty interesting one. Here's one from National Geographic that's just interesting about viruses. And it talks about how there's more viruses than stars in the universe. They estimate there's a quadrillion individual viruses. That's 10 nonillion, which is 10 to the 31st power. And of course, sadly, you know how many Americans don't know what 10 to the 31st power is? And I know I offend people. Why are you beating up on America? Because we get on a fucking high horse. That's why. Because we say we're number one every fucking nauseating day. That's why. So I'm just meeting the challenge. If we had any humility that you should when you're only 4% of planet Earth, then I'd be a little calmer about it. But we go on and on and on about number one. So I when we're not number one in high school graduates or college graduates or survival at birth or number of degrees or all kinds of metrics, healthcare and childcare and women being paid and on and on. If we're not number one in that stuff, I'm going to be team critic. So there you go. Okay, so here is a great article though on National Geographic, really interesting about just viruses in general. Fascinating, and people would do well to educate themselves. Okay, other comments. Let's see. What time is it too? 5:00. I'm going to wrap up, pretty soon. I'm trying to keep these to closer to 2 hours. Who needs to hear me more than that? Who needs to hear me more than 2 minutes? But somehow a lot of you are here. Okay, let's catch up on Cheryl Ann, how are you, my friend? How's the garden going? Vaccine hesitancy in Japan. I did not know that. Yeah, put an article here about that, or I'll look that up. I did not know that. So you're saying at a a significant level? I want to read about that because that surprises me because there's such a pro-science technical society. But okay, yeah, I want to look that up. Oh, I see. Okay, because so they've had some problems with vaccines. So similar to a lot of black and brown people in America, there's a little bit of some reasons. Okay, well, I'll look that up on my own time. But thank you. Here's the headline. Yeah, thank you, Christopher. I haven't read on Japan in a month or two. Yeah, I was keeping track. So what's this headline? Japan's bitter vaccine history creates hurdle in COVID-19 fight. Yeah, so that's not good going into it. Yeah, okay. A tense public history with vaccines and a cautious approval process has some concern about how quickly the country can return. Okay, so there's some extenuating stuff there. Okay, thank you for that, Cheryl Ann. I didn't know that. I knew there was 4 or 5 moving parts. But Japan has one of the lowest rates of vaccine confidence in the world, according to a Lancet study, which found that fewer than 30% of people strongly agree that vaccines are safe, important, and effective. Okay. Okay, I'm I'm gonna look that up. And there's a couple interesting articles along that line. But they're unfortunately facing a fourth wave. I did see that headline, and Jesus Christ, man. Stay safe, folks. That's the ABC, Japan Times, a lot of sources talking about this fourth wave that's coming up and a sluggish vaccine rollout. Okay. Jesus. Osaka, which I remember last year, Osaka was the hot spot. I love Osaka. Man, what a city. I would live in Japan tomorrow. Love it. Thank you for that, Cheryl Ann. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Christopher says you can do more than one. I'm sorry. That was too long ago that I don't know what you're referring to. You can do more than one? I'm not sure. Vaccine? No, you can't be talking about that. Anyway, you're saying can do more than one person? Is that I don't how do you do it? I'm in Facebook Studio. Anyway, I'm wrapping up, but thank you. I'll try to learn how to do that. I'm pretty decent on oh, look, I can do questions. How about this? Let's see. Let me put a question in there because my next and closing topic will be the following. So I'll try this. I never tried this. Should concerts demand proof of vaccine? Or no, I'll put the other way around. Would you attend concerts that, and I'm going to say, 1,000 plus? Yeah, let's say, not a little club. How does this work? What do I have to put oh, okay. Just yes or no. Okay. Hey, this is pretty cool. All right, let's try it. I just put a poll there, folks. But not create the poll. There we go. I've never done this. Let's see if it works. Frank, you're right. OBS, that's my shit. Yes, I can multicast. I would still use Restream though, because Restream's great. You can, not going to bog down in the details and bore people, but Restream's great. You can put the titles and the tags, and you could multicast a lot. But let's private message on that. OBS, are you saying within OBS it lets you do multiple? Because I've used OBS to cast directly, and usually it just asks for one URL, streaming URL, and one key. So I don't know how it would go to, say, Twitter, Facebook, IGTV, Twitch, what have you. But I'm happy to learn. I love learning this shit. Cool guest coming up on Make Weird News. Yes, we do. We have a couple. I'm going to talk about that before we split here. A couple great guests, which the rest of my day is promoting some of that. Sharon says, friends who play games on Twitch. Animal Crossing, yes. Violent games get boring. Crush the audio for copyright violations, yeah. I know, that's right, Kevin. The Day of the Triffids. I loved that book. I couldn't believe it when I, years later, I read it in high school. It's a movie? Oh my God. Love it. Cheesy. Fantastic. Love The Day of the Triffids. And it's kind of here. Robert Bruce hates the leprechauns. So, Cheryl Ann, yes, you're very spot on, Cheryl Ann. They read blurbs on websites that align with their conspiratorial bullshit, and it feeds their fury, emboldening them to spread more lies. I know. It's mind-blowing. Oh, well, thank you, Cheryl Ann. I'm happy to provide a refreshing slice of your day. That's an honor. and you're surrounded by yoga mommy libertarians screaming about the dangers of vaccines. I know, it's like there's a drop of common sense in what they're saying. As I said earlier on, you might not have been here. Absolutely. Vaccines in the United States especially should be regulated way more. Way more. These compounding agencies that are often independent, really, really poor regulation compared to a France or a Germany or a Uruguay or a Nigeria or a Senegal or a Canada or a Mexico. I'm serious, folks. First, second, third world countries do better than us in many things, but in a lot of this regulatory stuff, a lot of our chicken and beef is still illegal in a lot of the world because of the drugs we use, because of the hormones and steroids we use. We got to wake up. So that's where the vaccine thing for me is kind of a moving target. We should be way better on regulating kind of the processes and having some liability and having, okay. That said, the balance of that for the libertarian yoga mommies is, come on. What's funny? I was just reading another article where in 1912 and thereabouts, I think it was for measles, you had to show that you had a vaccine to do certain things. I think to get on ships and go places. And back then you had a little scar because vaccines were pretty raw. It really left a little cut on you. And you had to show that. You had to show, I think it was measles. I can look that up. But the point is that 100 years ago, they understood the efficacy of vaccination. It was saving lives. And they understood that, well, we have a contagious disease. If we're having something at Madison Square Garden or on this ship or this parade or whatever, everyone has to have a vaccine or the 90-some percentile. So they were actually, this is not new. So, yes, please send a link. Cheryl, thank you. And let me see. So let's swing to that. I just want to get your thoughts on the proof of vaccine sort of thing, because this is the next discussion, folks. Here it is. Okay. The U.S. had vaccine passports long before COVID. Right. I just read this. Time magazine. That little rag. What do they know? I'd rather hear what Alex Jones has to say. This is on a train in 1885. They start the story talking about a train in southern Quebec near the Vermont border. Border officials in the late 19th century looking for passengers to provide evidence that they've been vaccinated from smallpox. 1885. Wake up, conspiracy theorists. Where was Bill Gates, or where was this 1885? They knew smallpox was deadly, highly infectious, and that Edward Jenner, is that his name, 100 years earlier, had discovered a way to fight it, which is simply taking a little bit of cowpox, is how he did it at first, and your body builds immunity. Wow. Nah, I'm not sure. I love when these people with nary a GED, they'll hear these complicated things and they go, I'm not sure what's in it. I love that. As they eat a hot dog or smoke a cigarette or take some drugs they bought from a guy in a parking lot. I don't know what's in it. I'm not sure about this. I love that. So, all right, we're going to, let's put that in the chat. This is a really important article, folks. I think, don't have to listen to me, but it's about border crossings and along the U.S. border with Canada and Mexico. We were looking in the late 1800s into early 1900s. Okay, here's one in the same article. Here's just a pull quote. As an El Paso newspaper put it in 1910, travelers needed to show one of three things: a vaccination certificate, a properly scarred arm, or a pitted face, indicated that they had survived smallpox. So 111 years ago, Fauci wasn't even born. Bill Gates wasn't even born. None of them had anything to do with this. There was no Pfizer on the stock market. Any of these crazy things. And we had public health officials saying, we can't stop this influx. It's blowing up. How do we do this? Well, let's make sure people are vaccinated, and then let's check for the new people coming into our country or going from a hot spot in one state to another state. Here we are, like it's some crazy fucking idea. Okay, Time Magazine article. I just put it in the chat, so check that out. Yeah, Cheryl Ann, I did read that. The Olympics are coming up. Maybe they'll cancel it. Fuck the Olympics. Like, yeah. Going to India, getting all the vaccines. Yeah, What I want to know is, what does the Who have to do with this? I'm a huge Who fan. They're one of my favorite bands. And this is where I agree with people. Stick with the music, right? They're always sticking their nose into all this. The Who says this, the Who says that. Pete Townsend, the recent album was great. Do another one, bro. Stop getting involved. The vaccines and India did this or that. I don't want to read it anymore. Okay? The Who claims that India is in... Stay in your lane, bro. You and Roger you're doing it. But yeah, stick with the music. Yeah. And Sharon Lynn Baker falls on the floor, not recognizing my sarcasm. Really? Did you just woman-splain to me that the World Health Organization is what WHO stands for? Hopefully you're being sarcastic. Of course I know that. But it's funny, right? Like, it's a good one to pull on people because everyone in the room thinks, oh my God, he doesn't know. So it's one of my favorite jokes. Use it. It's a good one. Standing in line at Starbucks or something, it's great because people are like, oh my God, this guy really thinks. Oh my God. So, all right. Anyway, so vaccine passports. I just gave a little bit about it, which they go back 100 and some years. There's nothing new, and we're heading into a world where, a country actually, because other countries are totally comfortable with public health responsibilities, but we're heading into one here where Live Nation, AEG, big airlines, Norwegian cruises, which is where it impacts one of my things in my career because I do these cruises. Did you all see this? Norwegian is saying we will, sorry, you have to show proof of a vaccine. Sorry. And I salute them. I mean, fucking, cruise ships are petri dishes 20 years ago. You're going to get on one now if it's a free-for-all with Kid Rock coming on. Yahoo! I didn't get no vaccine. Liberty. You want to be on a boat with that guy? And 3,000 other people where you don't know? Come on, man. I personally don't think it's that safe with the vaccine, right? Because you're in a pretty tight situation there. So if it's a bunch of vaccinated people, 3,000 of them, but let's say just 50 of them have been exposed to one of these other variants, I don't know if I want to be even on that boat. So much less one with 0 vaccines. So this is happening, and I put this article. I know I'm putting a lot of articles here, but this is a great one. This is a New York Times article from the last 24 hours. About how Norwegian Cruise Line is threatening to pull out of Florida. Imagine that. Cruise line with hundreds of ships, I guess, who for decades has sailed out of Tampa, St. Pete's, Fort Lauderdale. I think there's some that leave from Jacksonville, Miami. There's another one on the West Coast, and they're saying, "Fuck you very, very much, DeSantis. We're out of here if you're saying we cannot request vaccines." This is an amazing moment because all of the pro-business, leave me alone conservatives are hypocrites right now on this, right? Because they don't want the free market to simply set requirements for their airplanes, their concert halls, their theaters, their cruise ships. Isn't that funny? Isn't that funny? Think about it. These conservatives who go on and on and on. The government should leave me alone. I don't hear any of them saying anything with the government of Florida, Governor DeSantis, mandating that you cannot have a requirement for your attendees. I love it. I love it. This is one of my favorite little things. There's another showdown happening in Florida with the South, what's it called? The South Beach Food Festival? Is that what it's called? South Beach Food and Wine in Miami. Huge festival. Yeah, is that what it's called? South Beach, what's it called? South Beach Wine and Food. Right. Okay. So I'm keeping track of this because for a while they were demanding vaccine proof, but then I saw they didn't. Then I saw they did. So obviously they're going back and forth. They probably have their legal staff saying, do this, do that. Then they have their marketing staff saying something different. So, okay, so this is April 14th. So we're just under a month ago. South Beach Food Festival will not require. So they've flipped on that. April 14th. So this looks like there's been no news since April 14th. I'm scanning and all the articles are a month old. That's interesting. So that tells me they're just chilling on it. They're like, what the fuck do we do? Okay, if someone can gather more info on that. What does this say? Oh, okay, May 3rd. Here we go. May 3rd, COVID health safety protocols. The festival is aware of State of Florida's plans to modify COVID guidelines. We will evaluate these modifications while maintaining our current health and safety protocols, including our face mask requirement. Interesting. So that's very careful legal language, right? Listen to that. They're saying, we're aware that the state is modifying it. We will evaluate. So they're not saying whether they'll adhere or not. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the governor of Florida, this reprehensible DeSantis guy, has passed a law, signed a law into action that bans any private business from implementing a vaccine-only entry requirement. Very simple. It's one of the most fascinating moments that I've seen, and I'm a political addict. Because here you have a so-called conservative, right? A so-called GOP stalwart passing a law that stops private industry from doing something. Wow. You don't have to go to a food and wine festival. You don't have to go to on a cruise. You don't have to do it. You can choose. And so to force those private businesses to decide what's next, that they can't demand footwear, or that you not have a lit cigarette, or that you can't take a bottle of whiskey onto a cruise, because those are all rules of the cruise, okay? You have to have a passport. Is the governor going to come along and say, so it opens an interesting area. But conservatives are generally completely hypocritical. I love it. They win on hypocrisy. And this is one more example. So what are they saying here? Capacity is reduced. Wow. So they're doing 50% capacity. This is the Food and Wine Festival, and this speaks to my topic here, which is vaccine proof and where that goes. Florida International University. So they're going to be doing health screening at events, symptom and temperature checks, attestation of either a negative COVID test no more than 72 hours prior, or completed vaccination and presentation of a cleared SIM check QR code. Wow, I've never heard of that. So that's one of these new third-party screening apps. Oh yeah, game is on, folks. Mark my word. This is all you're going to be hearing about in I think let's say, is June 1st too soon? When is that? It's about 20 days. Yeah, I think by June 1st. Absolutely by July 1st. This will be the headline everywhere because it's going to be game on, folks. Festivals, concerts, theaters, museums. They're going to say, sorry, we need to promise to everyone coming here that we've done at least as much as we can. That's the thing. It's not a guarantee still, which makes it even more important, right? Do as much as you can. Museums, boat rides, amusement parks. It's going to be real interesting, folks. I did not know this. There's something called SIM Check. It's a QR code third-party COVID screening application. I heard about the New York one. There's a New York app that New York State has approved. Same thing. It's going to be an electronic proof because I'm sure you saw the headlines, and it's on all these right-wing websites and Alex Jones websites and the one for the president. What's it called? Patriot.win. All those websites are flooded with ways to fake your vaccine card. Where to get a blank vaccine card, because you can buy them on eBay. People have stolen them. So that whole swath of at least the internet crowd of that political stripe, they're falling over each other to get fake cards, the little cards that we all got. If you got but like the virus, shit has already evolved past the cards. You now are going to have a digital, attestation to. It's going to be game on when the Kid Rock crowd finds out that, yeah, you're not going to the show. Sorry. I don't look forward to that. Guess what? Wow. This is a great, the guidelines for this festival: canine detection screening, because they're going to be checking people for all kinds of shit because it's Florida. PPP will be required. Mask requirements during event operations will comply with official restaurant guidance and best practices. Gloves will be required for all service staff and FIU volunteers. Wow. It's going to be interesting. So, lots of stuff about sanitizing, and there's going to be no buffet style foods it's personally, let's see, no meet and greets, no chefs and host talent doing meet and greets and taking pictures. It gets to be, why bother? Why have a big? But I get it. People, people are hurting. They're tired. They want to go out. They want to. I get it. I get that. And the beauty of being out in the beautiful sun in Miami and enjoying some food and wine. I get it. Let's do it. Be very careful. So keep your eye on those two stories, folks. As I run off here by 5:30, I'd like to get out of here. But keep your eye on the cruise lines, starting with Norwegian. Who goes next? Carnival, Disney Cruises, some of these other ones. I forget the ones that we do the cruise on, Poesia or something. Who's going to follow suit? Who's next? Who's going to say we're not doing a cruise unless it's going to be a showdown between them and Florida. Okay, I just put that food and wine I wonder if there'll be lawsuits around reckless actions because that's exactly the problem. That since they don't want to have lawsuits, they're going to go the other way. Live Nation, AEG, Ticketmaster, cruise ships, amusement parks, theaters. Sky's the limit, right? That, I tell you, it's so interesting. This is like crack for political junkies. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap up and get out of here. And let's see. I'm just going to look real quick because it's such a fast moving require. So what cruise ships require the COVID vaccine? I know Norwegian. Cruise lines. Okay. Is there anyone else? Oh, okay. Look, there we go. April 26th. Well, let's get the most updated. April 16th. Sorry. This who is requiring vaccinations? Here it is. Okay. Celebrity cruises, Norwegian. Who else? American Cruise Lines, that they go up and down the rivers. Okay, so they were requiring it till April 30th. Very clever. Vaccines may or may not be required after that. So I'm not going to waste time looking it up, but because everyone's being cagey, they don't want to have Kid Rock mad at them and his ilk. American Queen Steamboat, starting July 1st. All guests and crew must be vaccinated. Starting July 1st. I guess it's a summer up and down the river thing. Celebrity cruises. All guests 18 and older. Sorry, 2 weeks before boarding. Right. That's otherwise it's a joke. Crystal Cruises. All guests to be vaccinated 14 days out. Cunard. First off, they're only UK residents fully vaccinated at least 7 days before boarding. But then after October 2nd, blah, blah, blah. So you get the idea. It's widespread. Grand Circle Cruise Line, which does Greece, Turkey, Italy, and a bunch of other European spots. All passengers must be vaccinated. Lindblad Expeditions. Where do they go? Antarctica, Russian Far East. They work with the National Geographic. Sounds lovely. Alaska, Galapagos. Who needs the vaccine? All guests 16 and older. Wow, they're going low. But shit is crazy. 3 million people have died, and that's a low count on planet Earth. This hasn't happened in a century. Stop your nonsense that it's made up and, Let's see. Norwegian we just spoke about. All guests must be fully vaccinated all the way at least through October 31st. Oceania Cruises. All guests must be vaccinated, which they start August 1st, it looks like. Royal Caribbean, 18 and older. Under 18, you need proof of a negative PCR test. How about that? That's the most hardcore one yet, is Royal Caribbean. 18 and up, proof that you've been jabbed. 18 and down, let's see that negative PCR. That's if you're taking a 5-year-old, you better read these fucking requirements before you get to the port, right? P&O Cruises, sounds like a discount. All guests. It's a small UK cruise line. Okay, got it. Canary Islands, Europe. So there you go. Shit is real. And you can, as usual, Americans are just going to ignore it and just say, my freedom. Well, there you go. That's the one I'll close on. So did I hit every topic I wanted to today? Mostly. We talked a bit about India, and our heart goes out to India. Talked a little about viral animal reservoirs. This idea that dogs, maybe dogs, and maybe cats to some extent, lesser extent it seems, they're still figuring this out. They're so busy with the human collapse that it's like the animals. Oh my god! But the minks are the ones that probably were the worst so far, right? We all have talked about that here. How they've destroyed and killed millions and millions of minks. So anyway, um, all right, folks, I'm out of here. Good to see you, or speak with you indirectly. Michael Keating, hey, how are you? We'll talk soon. Be well. Oh, I didn't even announce what's coming up. Yeah, I always do that. Wednesday night, I'm talking to on my other the show that I do with Make Weird Music. I've got the great Jack Hotop on Wednesday. He would be great to those of you who are musicians, into synthesizers, into equipment. Jack has been a chief voicing director, which means you invent the sounds and textures and things on Korg synthesizers for 35, almost 40 years. So we're going to be talking to him Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Make Weird Music. I'll have it on my my Facebook. He's an incredible pianist, synthesist, musician, composer. He's done a lot of soundtracks, played with some amazing people. So we're going to talk to him. A week from Friday, I've got Dorit Chrysler. So I'll talk about that next week. She's one of the world's leading thereminists. I'm waving my hand as you do if you're playing the theremin. Here we are 100 years after Clara Rockmore popularized the theremin, one of the early synthesizers. Dorit carries on the whole tradition, not just the Clara Rockmore, but and she does pop music, experimental music, all kinds of stuff. And then I've got an astronaut in 2 weeks, Katie Coleman. We're going to be talking to her. So all these things are going to be on my Facebook. So stay tuned, subscribe, check me out. If you want to drop me something in PayPal or Venmo, I'll put that up here. My Venmo is just my name with a dash in between it. And I've got Adrian Ballou. That's the other one I wanted to make sure you knew about. Adrian Ballou, my boss. I'm going to be interviewing him on May 28th. So look for that. Let's see. Let's just drop. I'll put that in there. My Venmo is at Andre Chumley. Pretty easy. If you can spell my name. Okay, so and I'll be here next week with a special guest, and I'll promote it here also, so you'll see some things about her. But she works at a farm sanctuary, saving animals, taking care of animals. Wonderful place locally. So we'll talk about that. And we will see you sometime soon. And hopefully all this shit works. Okay, take care. Hey, what's up, man? Sorry, I was on the air doing my show. We've had some flashes, yes. One of the things, though, we're such a huge tourist town, and they started pouring in at least a month ago, and that shit pumps it up. But also a lot of transients that come here thinking that the streets are paved with gold. So definitely things are up. Then they get here and realize, oh shit, it's just like everywhere else in America. And it's worse downtown because it's a $300 hotel place. So then they hit rock bottom, and then the meth kicks in, and so does the crime. Hey, sorry, I was on my show. Every Monday I do a show at 3 o'clock for 2.5 or 3 hours, so I never really answer stuff. Hey, bro, how are you today? What's your timeline? I'm running around and fielding calls, but tell me what your best window is the next few hours. And I just covered it a bunch on my show today, which was all about India, vaccine confirmations, animal reservoirs of viruses, and how people need to fucking take wet markets seriously because they've been a problem for decades. America right now is like the fucking Titanic, and experts are trying to tap everyone on the shoulder and say, there's a fucking iceberg. We can still turn away from this, but you guys need to put the champagne down and help us. crazy story. Yeah, I'm so tired of it all. I mean, the math is simple. Remember, the label's getting a small amount, but from 10,000 artists. So, of course, it's going to look like a big number, especially when a few of those artists are Drake and the estate of Elvis and the Beatles and Taylor and Ed Sheeran. Oh, I knew that much about the horse, that there was a doping thing. I just don't. I read a little bit about the drug itself, and that's the part I didn't understand. This is where we are, where cancel culture is the shot you're going to take. I just dealt with this on my show, and I'm loving the fact that something like 10 or 12 cruise lines have committed that you're not getting on our fucking boat without a vaccine. Have you seen this? Norwegian is threatening to pull out of Florida because DeSantis says they can't ask for vaccine proof. Let him hold his ground and fuck this up. That would make my year if massive cruise lines pulled out of Florida, plunging that segment of their economy and getting all those massive amount of people who depend on that pissed off at him. I hear you. I had a crazy day right up until showtime. And then there was a Facebook glitch with Restream, so I did it a little differently this week. But yes, off the air. Simultaneously with my live stream on the other services, which, thanks for reminding me, are still on the air, LOL. Thank you, Orrin Fisher.